here on indices. So write each of the following in the form 2 to the power of n, where n is an element of q and q is quotient. So, oh my god, what are they called? Rational numbers, fractions. So that means, that means that n can be natural, so they can be positive whole numbers, they can be integers, positive or negative whole numbers, that hasn't come up yet, or they can be q, which is fractions. Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to try and go in and out here to show you this, but formula and tables book, maths. So if we go into indices here, indices, the first one I have there is multiplication. So this law here tells me that if I'm multiplying and the bases match, I add the powers. So that's where I'm getting the answer from, I suppose. Algebra. Yeah, so the law says if you're multiplying, add the powers. So it becomes 2 to the power of 3 plus 5 plus 10, which is 2 to the power of 18. And that's it for that one. The second one then, 8 to the 25. So the issue with that one is the base number. So the base number is the big number. Yeah, the little number is the power. So the base number needs to be 2. And in that part B there, it isn't 2. So I'm going to make it 2. So basically, I want to know what is 8 as a power of 2. Because that's what I need. So if you go into your calculator and you do like 2 squared, 2 cubed, 2 to the 4, 2 to the 5, just if you don't know it, like just keep trying different numbers, you'll figure out that 8 is 2 cubed. Yeah? So it means I can write this as 2 cubed to the 25. Yeah? So in place of the 8, I've put in 2 cubed. And the reason I've done that is because 8 is 2 cubed. Yeah? So now I've got this yoke here. And again, if I go back to my formula and tables book, it's this. See this? I've got like a base and a power in a bracket and then another power outside the bracket. And the law here is PQ, which is to multiply the power on the inside and the power on the outside. So I'm going to multiply the power on the inside by the power on the outside. So it's 3 times 25, which is 2 to the power of 75. That's what that one is. And then the last one here, so same problem as before in that it's an 8 and not a 2. Now that should be easier to handle because I know what that is now. So we know 8 is 2 cubed because I figured it out for the last one, right? So the other problem then is a square root is not a power. So you need to write it as a power. Now that is kind of in the formula and table, like it is, it's just you have to be able to interpret it. So see here, the way it says the root becomes a fraction. So a square root doesn't have a number in front of it. But if it did, it would be a 2. Okay, so we normally write a square root like that, but it can be written like that. We just don't write it. Like if it was a cubed root, we definitely put the 3 in. But for a square root, we just don't. It's a bit like, if I write a number like that, that number is a +7. We just don't write the plus. Okay, so a square root does have a 2 in front of it. We just don't write it. Yeah? So based on that law I just showed you, a square root turns into a half. Yeah? So that law, if I go back again, said whatever number is in front of the square root, that becomes the bottom of the fraction. So that's what I did. Whenever number is in front of the square root becomes the bottom of the fraction. Yeah? So instead of the square root of 8, which is the question, I'm going to turn that into 8 to the power of a half. But I don't want, the question wants 2 as the base, not 8 as the base. So I'm going to change that 8 to a 2 cubed to the power of a half. Yeah, so that's where I just changed the 8 to the 2 cubed, the half stayed. And then this law is the same as this law up here. So when you put a power inside and outside the bracket, you just multiply the powers. So it's 3 times a half. And 3 times a half is 1.5. Yeah. 1.5 you can write as a top heavy fraction as 3 over 2. Or you could also write it as a decimal, 1.5. Yeah. Okay, hope that helps.